where we work together and agree on a pathway forward.
Indeed. Oh, we have, oh, wow. Lovely. We encourage it. So so let me just yield to this first table. I see Mr. Walter.
I understand. So probably we need to increase, you understand, but there are raw produce being exported to Barbados. Recently, Dexia posted on the page that they exported how many jelly nuts to Barbados. All right, so I just wanted to point that out. Also, there is sometimes we overlook trade shows. But trade shows are very, very, very important to the small business sector because a lot of times the small businesses cannot market themselves on their own because of the high costs. They may not be able to do the necessary networking, and those investments by government help those small businesses. And the small business opportunity has been very, very integral in terms of putting up on a yearly basis multiple trade shows across Dominica. Recently we held one in Portsmouth, and the Portsmouth persons are asking for it to be held twice a year. And hence the reason why they are asking for that is because of the benefits that they derive from those investments. So I pointed that out because of the point that you brought up, Mr. Edwards, with respect to additional investment in for small businesses. So I just brought that up to your attention. Then, whilst I have the floor, I will just touch quickly on fiscal incentives. So at the small business opportunity, and I have been expressing that time and time again over different avenues, but in terms of the uptake has been a bit slow, and an Honorable Minister normally speaks about that. The uptake for fiscal incentives has been a bit slow, and we have been getting feedback from persons who have benefited from fiscal incentives that are indicating that they have employed to benefit. So that is one of the major requirements. All right, $250,000 and below. We are dealing with the small part of it, and ID and Invest Dominica is dealing with the larger part of it. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, I saw there was another comment from Mr. Kazimi, and then we'll go to.
Hello, good day. My God, my mind is rolling with a plethora of different comments and interjections and remarks, but I will first revert to I'll put on my agricultural hat, someone who has farmed in the past and intend on farming in the future, and hopefully may realize true profits from farming. I will just touch on my lady's comments. I think one of the major issues for us in Dominica is scale, as Edwards mentioned, and I don't think it is particularly that the ministries of agriculture is not doing so much to promote agriculture and to promote the different. My problem is, how do we vertically integrate the products that we as farmers produce? And that is where the barriers to entry is. That is where I feel there is not enough support to take, because at the end of the day, Dominica, if you look at Dominica, I don't think we can compete with scale in production of vertically integrated agricultural produce into products to compete with the different products that are out there on the world market. Having said that, I still feel that Dominica has the products that are coming out from Dominica, if they are marketed as boutique products, I think then they can find those special markets where, because most of the products that are coming out from Dominica that are added value from an agricultural basis, they are boutique products. And I would tell you from over the years, having dealt with different farmers in different, along the different lines of production, like cocoa, for example. Dominica has one of the best cocoas in the world. Yet, we are not producing enough cocoa in Dominica to supply the local cocoa market, much less for us to think of vertically integrating the cocoa products that we have and export it to islands that may crave our cocoa. Sometimes we have to import cocoa from Grenada to put it in the products that we're trying to put out to send out. You understand? Ginger is another one. Sometimes we run out of ginger in Dominica because the ginger for the local market and the little that we export is basically not enough. So I feel like these industries, these micro manufacturing industries that has to be developed, they have to be developed from a boutique perspective. We cannot try and make a cocoa packet to rival with Nestle, Milo, or Ovaltine, but we need to make a cocoa product that can end up in a boutique shop somewhere in the Caymans, somewhere in Barbados, and get the value for money for the high-level products that we produce. The barriers to entry for these things is the capital-intensive nature for manufacturing processes. One of the areas I see as a possible solution for this is some type of multi-purpose manufacturing plant that would take again the idea of pooling different manufacturers together and put them under one house where X can produce their cocoa, vertically integrate it into a cocoa powder. That person can take their ginger, vertically integrate it into a ginger tea. That other person can do with his candles, scented soaps. But the idea of bringing everything under one big roof might help in terms of the capital intensive nature of each and every one individual trying to go and source and get the different equipment that is needed for their particular endeavor.
The size of his business, for example. And that point is well taken because the definition of a small business, you might not want to only look at it based on the amount. Working?
Yes.
Okay, good. So we are putting together a business policy that will give proper definition of a small business. And then with that proper definition of a small business, it will look at more than just the amount of revenue a business making in determining what category it falls in and so on. But we have to appreciate that as a business continues to grow and it moves out of the small business category, then it should also be positioning itself to be able to access financing from the normal financial intermediaries, for example, the banks and so on. So at a certain time, effectively what I'm saying is the business should look to wean itself from depending on government grants for its financial survival. You have to get to the point where you can survive in the free market economy, take a loan, be able to generate enough revenue and profits to be able to finance and support that loan and so on. So as a government, you're very much interested in creating the overall environment for businesses. The small business unit is there to help take businesses, establish them, but enable them to grow to the point where they can move out of the small business category and into the normal business environment. The idea of small government, I don't think we have much opposition there. However, as you can see, in a country such as ours, the government has to take up a lot of the slack that people often not stepping up to do. We send people and study we have sent hundreds of people and study, and generally the culture here is when people return, they're looking for a job. They're not looking to create jobs like Tony does. The average person coming down looking to see where they can get a job. What we need to is a cultural thing, and we need to start to impress on people the importance of opening a business as well. And probably instead of you looking for a job, maybe you give some people a job. And the cruise village that we have started on, we have started discussions. This will be funded by private sector financing. This will not be constructed or operated by the government. So we're looking to move as much as possible outside the government financing system and outside the direct control of the government. So this would be constructed by private investors and operated by the private investors. But obviously, it will help create ample business opportunities for small businesses, as we would expect to have an increase in the number of cruise passengers coming in, and then the downstream benefits for tour guides, tourism, small business, souvenir vendors, and all those different things. So that is basically. Did I address all your points? I don't know if you have anything else I missed.
The cost of energy.
No, the cost of energy, that is under the Minister of Trade's portfolio in terms of we have trade, we have public works, but I think you were probably referring to the impact of the geothermal plant in reducing the cost of energy, right? Right. What I've said is that the analysis we have gotten is that it will be material, it will be sufficiently impactful to reduce the cost of operations, to increase the attractiveness of doing business in Dominica. I can't give you the exact sense yet, but the feedback we have received is that it will be impactful.
Okay. In the interest of time, we'll take other comments or questions. I know that we had seen some hands raised, so we're just going to move the mic to this table. We'll come back to this table.
Your question, comment.
Yes.
Is that working?
Yes, we're hearing you.
Your question, comment kind of sparked a little bit, little interest. Much closer to this. If you lived here 40 years ago, I live in the valley. And when you're on your way to school, you were really disgusted by the smell from the top of Bath Estate coming down Bath Road. Bath Road is from Trafalgar Falls, right? Because there was a whole citrus plantation. And I remember asking my father, what in God's name is that smell every day? It was just, like, I don't know if most of you all remember that. Those that are in their 50s, Robbie? Okay. And I mean, I don't do agriculture. I'm not saying that I know all the answers to the questions. My little 2 cents is that we did it 40, 50 years ago. We established organizations like DEXIA, DBMC to handle this kind of agriculture and the export markets. When Benton recommended for us to do surveys. That's what these facilities were meant for. And looking around the region, I don't think we have to go back to school for this. Yes, we needed to take it into 2025. And obviously the environment has changed, but the fundamentals remain the same. And I'm not sure what has happened with the DBMC and the DEXIA that has puzzled them as to how to operate agriculture, import, export. And if another company from, let's say, Antigua or Jamaica can buy our dashing and sell it back to us in a package, just thinking like 2 cents, because I don't run a hot dog stand, so I can't tell you how to sell hot dogs. I'm just giving my little 2 cents as to how it, just go back, see what was happening in that environment, see what was needed and bring it forward. Okay, and I'm sure all the techs and all the people that can grow planting in half a minute will jump in and tell you how to do it. I don't think it should be that difficult. And before you all move on, the geothermal, that's a big interest for me because I live in the area. And when that smoke starts coming out, I have nightmares about how I'm gonna leave my home and run with my mother and 2 dogs. Okay, the other family runs by themselves. Now the geothermal, oh, there we have it. I got it.
Mm-hmm.
The geothermal, we have heard that the plant would hopefully be able to supply half of Dominica's needs. Where I don't really agree with it, but hey, why are we not pursuing other forms of renewable energy in the meantime? We have been 15 years going with geothermal. I don't know how many more years we need to go. I don't know too much about the whole process, but in the interim, Antigua, Barbados, where last I flew to St. Lucia, I'm not sure if they have it. They have the solar panel farms at the airports, the wind tunnels. Why aren't we incorporating all those renewable resources to join in until the grand day when geothermal actually comes off the ground? That's just my 2 cents.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Simelda, for that intervention. And we will take another comment before going back to the panel.
Okay, so like Sheldon, my mind has gone all over the place through the various comments and whatnot. So let me start with the fruit story. And I can speak as a vendor. One of the problems in Dominica is today we have 50 million tomatoes, and tomatoes are $1 a pound. And next week, nobody has tomatoes, and tomatoes are $20 a pound. So whilst it's nice to say we have all these breadfruits, all these mangoes falling, there's a problem with consistently having it to be able to export to Barbados. So if I am trying to have a container every month, let's just say every month, it is going to be a struggle. I know people have tried it with oxide, with dashing, and just to get it, even if you have 50 farmers, to get it has always been a struggle. I appreciate that the government tries a lot with extension officers, with putting in some of the infrastructure parts in place. But where I have my struggle is you go to a farmer and the extension officer goes to a farmer and the extension officer is actually giving book-based advice. And the farmer feels that this extension officer doesn't have anything to show me that how the book is telling you it works because what I'm doing on my farm has been working for the last 50 years. It may not be the most efficient, but it works. And when I try it, quote unquote, your way, there are problems. So I think one other thing the ministry maybe needs to invest in is have like a model farm where some of these extension officers actually go through the experience. They see the bad and the good and how, whereas in the book, certain, and even from an engineer, I'm not a farmer, but I'm an engineer. And I know a lot of times the book tells you, do something this way. When you get into the actual practical application of it, it is a struggle. It is a struggle. Even simple things like when you have your vehicle and you bring it by a mechanic, because we don't have the first world tools, wherever it is, Dominica, the guaye you have to go through to take out a bolt because of it, it's just not practical. So sometimes we need to look a little further than just, I have the extension officer trained, I have him going on the farm. And I think the last thing I want to say is the government has the plans are, sometimes they're great plans, but where they fall flat is the implementation. And an example I'll use is the coffee plant in Portsmouth. Like, I think all of us knew, and there was a drive where if they gave away coffee plants, all of this coffee was grown and whatnot. And we haven't been able to make that jump from growing the coffee to producing the final product. Yes, the plant is there. Yes, the farm as well. But there's that little jump where we struggle. So it's, and even with like next year, I think you brought up the point about trying to pay people within 1-2 days. I think we all know that doesn't always happen. And that little section, there's a little jump where we struggle between the idea and the actual execution of the project. So that's my 5 cents for now.
Okay, thank you very much for that intervention, Mr. Timothy. I see that we had about 3 more comments. In the interest of time, we're going to take those 3 comments and then just hear some final remarks from the panel, so we can come back to the table, or if we can go to Mr. Robin again.